And Andrew's got some new reporting for us here on the NewsHour. Andrew, talk to us. What do we know?
Yes, quite a few lines coming in, Peter. Hostomel Airport, 10 kilometres outside the capital. It's actually now under the control of the Russians. That information from the Ukrainian presidential advisor. They control that airstrip. Now, it's not far from the capital. We're now hearing unconfirmed reports that paratroopers have landed on that airstrip, and there are reports that the Ukrainian artillery is opening fire, and there's a battle going on right now at that airstrip. Now, there's also information, prior to this happening, there were reports on Twitter that Ilyushin 76 planes, these are large troop carriers, 18 of them flew from Russia, a Russian airbase, heading this way, and it would appear quite possibly that the two are interlinked, that the paratroopers were on board these planes. We've looked into what the capabilities of the Ilyushin 76 are, and the capabilities apparently something like 140 troops could be carried on each of those aircraft. 18 of those aircraft, so that would be quite a fighting force. Also, unconfirmed reports of 20 helicopters readied in Belarus, ready for flying in, whether they're on their way or whether they're already here, full of special forces. Now, could this be an assault, a ground assault on the capital to try to take control of government buildings, to try to take control of power here, effectively? This independent state at threat at every level, militarily, politically, and there is no one physically here to help right now.
Is there a sense there, Andrew, that the people of Kiev are heading into a night of trepidation, I guess is the best word, not knowing what is literally, perhaps, probably, possibly coming their way?
Well, if it's only trepidation, that would be a relief. It could be far worse than that, there is no doubt. It is unclear what is happening in many parts of the country. We've heard that in Kharkiv there's been particularly vicious fighting. There have been a number of airstrikes and civilian deaths in considerable numbers. The total dead in this conflict, even after only, no more than 18 hours, are going to be really high. Who knows what's going to happen next? We're also hearing another report here, quite an important one. The Chernobyl former nuclear plant is a large area in an area where the Belarus advance has taken place, the Belarus Russian deployment of armor coming from the Belarus border. There was a fight outside the Chernobyl plant. This was obviously the nuclear plant where you had the meltdown, that disaster, that tragedy, that disaster back in 2016. 1996. What am I talking about? That area has been an area of conflict for several hours, but now we're hearing that the Russians have gained control of the former Chernobyl plant, that entire area, which many parts of it are still radioactive. In terms of the number of casualties, we can't give you an accurate figure. President Zelensky, should I say, has made it quite clear that martial law is imposed now. He's appealed for calm. He's also allowed all civilians to carry firearms without any permits. He's basically telling people to defend themselves if they have to. Here, it's very eerie and quiet. If it's true about these paratroopers and if it's true about the special forces, then fighting is expected on the streets. However, in a smaller amount of fighting than it would be if the armoured columns came all the way here from the road from Belarus and other areas as well. So yes, the situation right now is not just tense, it's absolutely charged with fear.
One does, Andrew, get the sense from certainly some of the military-type analysts we've been talking to here on the channel in the past few hours that Mr. Zelensky is playing this step by step as well as anyone could play it if they were doing his job, despite, on his part, a lack of, political or military, a political or a military background. Is it your sense that he's listening and listening to the right advisors?
It's hard to tell. I think Zelensky has done really quite all he can do under the circumstances with the support he's had. However, there is a feeling on board in some places that perhaps he pushed too hard against the intelligence that there was going to be a full-scale invasion. And of course, many Ukrainians really became slightly complacent about the prospect of the capital coming under attack and all major cities, seaports too, land, air and sea. From every direction, attacks have come. And as far as the security forces are concerned, they've been really, really stretched, despite the last-minute announcement to bring in voluntary reservists. That's only now just over 24 hours old, 18 to 60 years of age. Some are saying that could have happened a lot earlier and with a full mobilization. For example, the border we were visiting only on Wednesday, the Belarus, Russia and Ukraine border, a three-way border. We were there, we inspected, we looked around, and the defences were minimal. I mean, it was just some razor wire and some, not even trenches. The tanks rolled through there without any problem whatsoever. There were reports that the Ukrainians had repelled that advance, but we're not really sure about that. There were so many places that could have crossed into Ukraine from Belarus. It's a 1,000-kilometre long border, and there was a Bailey Bridge, a temporary bridge platoon put in place along that border as well to cross the river at one point. So there is really, on every front right now, a horrendous situation for civilians in particular. The civilians, many are sheltering. 4 subways, metros have been designated to take in people who want to shelter. There's a coded system on the air raid sirens now, but we haven't had air raids for at least nearly 2 hours now in the capital. That's not to say there aren't raids going on elsewhere, but here right now, there is a real tension building about government buildings, about whether or not they'll be attacked by special forces troops, and also about the city centre itself. But this does have the hallmarks of an attempt for regime change, with minimal damage to the capital. That could be a plan of the Russians.
OK, Andrew, many thanks. Andrew Symonds there talking to us, our correspondent out of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Let's bring in Alexander Belanutsa. He is the Ukrainian ambassador to Kuwait. He joins us on Skype from Kuwait City. Mr. Ambassador, welcome to the News Hour. Is your country about to completely fall to Russia?
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir, loud and clear.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. Sir, we will never fall. We will never surrender, whatever it takes. We may not be winning at this time, but we're strong enough to resist in any possible way. We have a support of our partners, international friends, allies, and we'll be strong enough to fight more. I will definitely not be repeating the chronological data that you have shown this video report before I turned in, but I really need to say that Ukraine is working at all possible layers, at all possible levels, should it be diplomatically, economically. We are fully fledged. Russia did invade Ukraine. Russia did use innumerable missiles and bombs that have been raining on innocent people and innocent population. But we still feel that we are strong enough to resist. I will allow myself to tell you how I spent this day, which started 5 in the morning, locally. I had a very early meeting with my colleagues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kuwait, who definitely expressed all their support and solidarity with us. 31 years ago, in 1990, Kuwait has been invaded by Iraq. And so they feel exactly what we are feeling now, what we are suffering now. What pain do we have at this very moment? So this solidarity, this similarity, we call it Black Thursday. Black Thursday was in 1990 when Kuwait was invaded. Black Thursday is today when Ukraine is invaded.
But Mr. Ambassador, just let me stop you there for a second, please, sir. Solidarity and similarity and diplomacy and political power and sanctions, those are, of course, warm words. They are an understandable concept. Diplomacy doesn't stop bullets. It doesn't stop aircraft carriers. It doesn't stop the Navy. It doesn't stop the helicopters. It doesn't stop Russian ground forces. Diplomacy never has. It never will. Diplomacy at the moment isn't dead, but it is icy cold. You must admit that.
Yes, correct, sir. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And here I may not be very diplomatic to say that we are asking for help. We are crying for help at all the levels. And even in my conversations today here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the highest level, and we had around 20 ambassadors from G7, from European Union, UK, that came to the Embassy of Ukraine to support and show solidarity, who are actually helping us with anything that we need. Weaponry, defense, techniques, microfinance, humanitarian aid. And definitely I also expressed my strong feelings and request that if Kuwait can help me in any way possible. And so there will be some decision, and we do expect that Kuwaiti people will definitely support us. You're absolutely right, sir. I will be very asking very strongly to visualize my picture, because that picture actually shows what was the carpet, what was the bombing, what was the shelling, what was the raining of the bombs on the territory of Ukraine. And at the same time, we have a number of the fronts, and it's not on the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sides of the Ukrainian borders. It's actually from all over the sides. And we are still strong enough to stand. Sir, I am very thankful for you to emphasize that we do need more than words and welcoming remarks. And that's what I'm saying, and I'm crying today. Please assist us as much as we can, because we need to support ourselves today. It's not only about Ukraine. It's about Europe, and it's about every single life.
Understood. Thank you very much, Alexander Belanutsa, the Ukrainian ambassador to Kuwait. Good to get your thoughts at this very difficult time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.